Good morning, everyone. This is Dan with Cyrusher E Bike Nation. We're going to take a little ride today, maybe 15 miles. Talk a little bit about my bike and a little bit about myself. I've just been last couple months just really realizing how difficult this world is becoming. I mean, it just seems like everywhere you turn around, things are just going haywire. I'll be 71 years old in November, and to see the changes that are going on in the last 2 or 3 years, last 2 years in particular, it's really not a scary thing, but it's something you better be very aware of your surroundings when you're out and about every day. Because the way the law enforcement's going and the amount of response time from the police, it's getting to where you have to take things into your own hands. You have to really, like I said, be aware of your surroundings, protect yourself, and as you're even like riding these bike trails that I ride, I mean, I'm very cautious about everything and all my surroundings around me, because it's a crazy world, as I said. You know, from being a Christian and know what my core values are with the Lord, and all this stuff is going on, He's still in control, and we got to realize that. We're not in very much control as a single individual. You can only control the things around you and your family and, you know, just what affects you every day. You can only react to how things happen to you. So the point of this video is trusting God first and foremost as your personal Savior, and to what He can do in your life if you just let Him. I mean, being almost 71 here in November, I mean, I've had a pretty good life. Been married to the same woman for 50 years. That's a blessing. She hasn't thrown me out yet, except to ride my e-bike. But, you know, you struggle early on in marriage with finances and raising children if you're going to raise them early on. And then you just going through life and, you know, struggling with different things. Life's not easy. But I always got to remember that God's in control. The more I read my Bible on an everyday basis and just see some of the signs that He's pointing out in old prophecy, things to come, and they're coming to pass as we speak. Things are just changing all the time. Sometimes not for the good. But as you get older, you gain wisdom. I always got this saying that when an older person dies, rather be in his 80s, 90s, the library dies with him. And that is so true. So if you can journal things and pass it down to generations, each generation, I think, gets a little wiser, hopefully. But we need to impart that on our kids and our grandkids. We need to impart wisdom on them. But you still got to live life. You know, you got to make your own mistakes. That's how you learn from them. But you know, early on, I was married in 1972, so it was pretty rough times back then. I mean, inflation was skyrocketing in through the mid-70s, and had 2 children early on, in 72 and 75, and both boys. And I kind of struggled early on. I quit my senior year of high school and went in the Navy. In January of my senior year, my parents let me, so that was a eye-awakening experience, going into the service with no experience in life and not knowing what you was getting into. But wow, I mean, once I got into boot camp, I learned very quickly that I was not in control. So I spent 2.5, 3 years in the Navy, and never did get over seasickness, by the way. But when I come out of the service, like I said, that was about 1971 or so, and we struggled when I got married in 72. You know, my parents just didn't, impart on us how important it was for education and continue your education. It wasn't that important back then. Back then, you had all these jobs with General Motors and Ford and all those companies that you're kind of expected to follow your parents if that's where they work, and that's kind of where you wanted to go. But I couldn't spend my time in a factory for 30 years. I just couldn't do it. My dad, I give him credit, bless his soul, he's passed now, but I give him credit for what he did. It taught me work ethic from an early age. That's what my dad did. And I had a roof over my head. We always got fed. My parents stayed together until my mom passed away early on. And so what we were taught values back in the 50s and 60s, and things were very important to them as far as family legacy and doing the right thing, raising your kids, staying together as the Bible speaks. But after I got done, was struggling for 3 or 4 or 5 years, I remember going home one day and I was out of work, and my wife said, well, you're good at 2 things, insulation and pest control. So at that point, we just opened the phone book to the A's, and there was a company here local that was hiring, and called Able Pest Control. So I got interviewed and I was hired that day. Got a company car, which that was really, really important back then. So I was a route technician for probably 5 or 6 years. I'd done a commercial route where, all businesses I serviced, restaurants, grocery stores, things of that nature. So I did that for about 5 years, and then I was promoted into management. So I kind of ran a branch for a couple years in Richmond, Indiana, and then come back. And about 1989, I guess it was, Waste Management. They're trash people, they're trash company. They purchased my company, and at that point, everybody had to take a psychological profile test, see where your skills were and where you should be in the company. And I scored extremely high on sales, extremely high. But they said, you'll never be a branch manager. So I knew where my strengths were. So, another intersection to cross here. So at that point, they said, well, we're going to promote you to sales manager. I actually took my branch manager's boss, took his job, and they said, you're going to go to Livonia, Michigan to pick up your company car, and here's an American Express card. All we want you to do is entertain commercial clients. You know, that's kind of where I was at that point in my life. I was in my mid-30s, late 30s maybe, and I got all this put on me, and I'm thinking, you know, I've never been a sales manager. I've never entertained commercial clients. I don't know how you do that, but I learned. So about a year later, after this purchase of Waste Management, Terminex came in and bought us again. So within 2 years, 2.5 years, we were bought again, but this time by a national company. Morning. So with this national company, I was in sales most of the time in my career from Terminex, from say 1992 up to 2003. I was there about 11 years. And I mostly sold residential business. And I got very good at my skill set. And again, I give God the glory for all of that, because it's not me, it's Him. He gave me the abilities to do what I do. That's a gift. So I sold for a number of years, became very good at what I did.